This is a ZeroBreeze Mark III portable AC unit. And this is the Tune M1 camper. And with the way the doors and windows are designed, there's not really a way to vent this thing. So today we're going to DIY a way to vent my ZeroBreeze AC unit so that it runs efficiently and we have cooler air inside our camper. Now I know we are already in the midst of fall season and you're probably wondering why I'm doing an air conditioning video now. Well, I live in Florida and aside from a couple of days here and there, it's pretty much like summer camping all year long. In fact, just last week we were running the Florida Adventure Trail and anywhere between 10 a.m. in the morning to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was suffering in 85-degree weather and I wish I had my portable AC unit handy. But with the way the camper is set up with hardened windows and hardened doors, there really isn't a way to get the vent out of it without letting other bugs in. There are soft windows up at the top and you can kind of sandwich it in between those windows, but it doesn't really run efficiently that way. Until my friend Brad from Overland showed me the DIY panel that he made for his AC unit that vents out the windows, and I thought that is exactly what I need to do with this camper as well. We're just going to do it a little bit differently. Now I just want to walk you guys through the unit first to show you exactly what areas we need to vent so that you can kind of understand how the air flows through this thing. Now over in the front you have two vents. You have your outlet and you have your inlet. So all the cold air is going to come out through here. They have an adapter that you can put on here as well that has a tube. So if you want to direct that cold air to somewhere specific, you can do so. I'm just going to leave this open because this is going to sit at the top of my camper near the bed anyway. So all the cold air is going to come out through here just freely. Over here is the inlet for hot air. So like any hot air will come in through here and it'll come out as cold air over here. If you want, you can put an adapter here as well with a tube and then basically point that to wherever there might be a hot spot, and then it'll suck the air from there and bring out the cold air. So it'll help you kind of suck out hot air from anywhere inside your camper as well. I'm going to also leave this open. I mean, maybe in the future I'll add something there. I do have the tubes for it, but I just don't want to clutter this thing up. So for now I'm going to keep it open and see how well that performs. Now in the back you have two vents here as well, and this is what needs to go out of the vehicle. So the bottom one is where all the hot exhaust will escape. So that definitely needs to go out of the vehicle, and there is a port right over here for that. And what's going to happen is we're going to be clipping this on right into here, and then this gets attached like that, and then this needs to vent out of the vehicle. And then up at the top, this is what sucks in hot air from the outside as well. You can leave this open if it's going to be outside of your vehicle, but we need to pull the hot air from outside. So we're going to pop this open. There's going to be a screen that's right in here. Leave that in place, and then we're going to put this adapter on here, and that gets vented out as well. Now when you have it set up like this and you're having it vent out of the vehicle, you have to find a way to kind of separate the air somehow, because what you don't want is you don't want hot air that's coming out of here to be sucked right back into the unit. It's just not that efficient. But the way we're doing our DIY is going to be flat, and both vents are going to basically sit one on top of the other. I'll separate them as much as I can, but I might have to put something else in the middle so that the hot air is not just coming right back into the unit. We'll figure that out when we get to that stage. And then obviously you have your drain hose. All the condensation that collects in here has to drain out of somewhere, so we need to make sure we vent this out as well because we don't want water collecting inside this camper. So in a nutshell, that's the setup. We have our two vents going out of the vehicle, drain hose going out of the vehicle. This whole unit is going to stay in the vehicle, blowing out the cold air here and sucking in any hot air that's inside the vehicle through here. Now ZeroBreeze sent me a pair of their AC vents. Now I don't know if these are available on their website yet. If they're not, I'm sure you can find a way to DIY some. Like I know you can probably get some vents at the hardware store that will be basically the same diameter as your hoses. But since they sent them to me, then we're definitely gonna use them. If they are available now, then let me show you kind of how they go together, because I had to figure it out on my own. They didn't really send instructions with it. I don't know if these are like prototypes, but you basically have like 3 pieces. You have this thin piece right here. This is going to go to the outside, and then you have this piece here that goes on the inside, and it basically sandwiches wherever you're going to be putting this onto. Maybe it's a window, maybe it's a wall, but you basically cut out a hole right around this size. It goes in like this, and then the other side goes in like this, and then you screw it together and it stays intact like this. In between here, you're gonna have your little screen, and that just helps prevent bugs or anything from flying into the unit itself. So it goes like this, and then the larger hose will fit right in here. You slide the large hose in here, and then you get these locking clips that goes right into these tabs here, and that'll lock that larger hose in place. For the smaller hose, you're gonna have to use the adapter here. You screw this onto the smaller hose. This goes right in there. Once you push it all the way through, that opens up this tab again. Then you take those locking clips and you put it in like that, and then that'll lock that hose in place. So we're gonna have one that's large and one that's small, and it's gonna sit right on top of one another. So the only question is, where are we going to mount these? Well, to prevent cutting permanent holes into the camper for vents that might get outdated later, we're gonna do it a little bit safer. So we're gonna vent everything out through the cab window right here. This opens and closes, and when we need to use the AC, this is how we're gonna vent it out. And we're gonna do that using this acrylic sheet here. We're gonna cut this acrylic sheet down the size, and it's gonna get attached to right here. The vents will be attached to this thing, and then we'll be able to vent the AC through there. And when we're not using the AC, this can come right back out, and then we can close the window right back. That is just a much better way than drilling holes and doing permanent damage on this camper. We just gotta figure out how we're actually gonna mount this thing. Now you can buy that acrylic at any of your hardware stores. A couple of other things I got as well. It's this adhesive backed weather stripping. We're gonna basically surround that acrylic with it. That way, if there are any kind of air gaps in between that window and the acrylic panel, we can kind of seal it up so we don't have any bugs coming in through there, or any hot air or any kind of draft going through there, and we can really seal that area up. And then I also got some jigsaw blades, and to cut acrylic, you don't want that to get melted because of high heat. So you're gonna wanna look for something that has a TPI, or tooth per inch, anywhere between 20 and 40. This one has a 36 TPI, so it's gonna be a little bit finer, and when you're cutting it through, you're not gonna get these big jagged teeth that's going through the acrylic and possibly making it hotter and melting it. We're gonna go nice and slow, and hopefully we don't get some melting or deformations. Let's see how well these work. But other than that, let's get to building.
First thing was to get the measurements of where I want to place the panel. Then using a T-square, I was able to mark where I needed to cut. Now in the area that will get discarded, I tried a couple of practice cuts to see how the acrylic will respond to the blade. This is the first time I'm working with acrylic and didn't want to damage this panel. As you can see, I made a few passes trying out different blades because what I bought wasn't working properly. I kept getting a lot of melting and the blade kept swerving. The one that worked the best was the blade I had for laminate flooring. As it turns out, what was causing all the melting was the protective film. I was hoping not to remove it to keep the panel from being scratched up, but after I did remove it, my laminate blade actually cut it much nicer and cleaner. I found out later from Brad that Home Depot actually sells blades specifically for acrylic, and it will cut very cleanly without needing to remove the protective film, but I had gone to Lowe's and found no such thing. When I finally cut it down to size, I went back to start marking where the vents will go, as well as weather sealing and attachment points. I marked it all on painter's tape. From there I was able to trace the hole I'll be cutting for the vents. I thought cutting the circles would be difficult, but I actually did a pretty decent job here cutting it precisely. And then with my Dremel, I cut out notches where the two parts of the vents meet and where they get screwed together. Here I'm just drilling out the hole where the drain hose will go through. I tried to put a rubber grommet to keep it neat, but the grommet kept falling out. More on that later. I also find out that this is not really the best place to put that drain hose. Now back to the vents, I made some adjustments to the notches. I just started trimming them a little at a time until the vents fit perfectly and clears all the holes where the screws will go through. Then I placed the outside vent followed by a screen mesh and then the inside vent and screwed them together. So I thought I would need to find a way to separate the airflow, but as it turns out, each vent has angled grills. This is great because I can have the grill for the top vent facing upwards and the grills on the bottom vent facing downwards. This way the top vent is not sucking up the air coming out of the bottom vent. I had some leftover trim from my bumper install and I decided to use it to cover up the two edges I cut just for a cleaner look because there were definitely some mistakes. Now to attach it, I decided to use Velcro that will go above and below the cabin window. And finally, I added the weather sealing on both sides and our DIY panel is done and ready to be tested.
Alright, I could not be happier with the way this thing came out. I'm actually kind of proud of myself with the way I built this thing. I didn't have to do any permanent damage to the vehicle. I didn't have to cut holes into the camper. I mean, now I have a way of venting the AC without doing anything permanent, and I just have to put up the acrylic whenever we use the AC and take it off when we don't. As you can see, we have a really good seal on this side. We have a really good seal on that side with the weather stripping, so we're not going to get any residual heat coming through here or any bugs or anything like that. We also have a really good seal at the top and at the bottom with the Velcro, and I like the Velcro solution because when I don't need this thing, I just rip it right off, and when we need it, I can just place it right back on. But I also found out that even with this up, I can still close the window. So if I really wanted to, theoretically, I can just keep this acrylic up year long. But I'm not going to do that. We don't always bring out the AC, so I'll pretty much remove it, and then during summer camping, I'll stick it back on, and that way it's always ready when we bring our AC with us. Now, a couple of mistakes I did make. I originally put the drain hole down here, but when I put the tube through, I realized it ran right into the tracks of the window, and that's not smart because then the tube will have to go over that track and down, and that's just not good for draining. So I created another hole up here. I just plugged this up with a bolt and a washer, but up here this is going to drain a lot better. I did have to use some RTV silicone though, because that rubber grommet, the rubber grommet is great, except that the thickness of the acrylic was thicker than the gap that's in between that rubber grommet, so I couldn't really fit it in there, and it kept popping right out. So I just plugged it up, and then I put some silicone, and that way that's not going to move, and now we have a drain hole here. I am going to have to kind of do it like this though, like somehow, so that when it drains, it has a way of draining down, and it's not getting caught in this U-trap right here. These came on really easily. The only thing is the clips that you put into the slots. For the top one that has the adapter, it was really easy because you just put the adapter all the way in and then put the clip through. But the one without the adapter, when you're putting the hose right directly into it, the clips can be a little bit finicky, like as far as grabbing. Like you'll be able to put it in, but you got to really like push it in there so that it kind of grips and this thing is not going to come out. But otherwise, I mean, this is an awesome system. And then up here, AC unit, not taking up a lot of room. We still have a bunch of space over here, and now it's venting out towards the bed, so we're definitely going to be comfortable during those summer months, and I can control all the stuff on the AC from up here while we're in bed. But that's it. Tell me what you guys think. I absolutely love this DIY because now I can bring my AC with me and we can vent it out, and we're going to be comfortable during those summer months, especially with the insulation that we have from Tune. That'll allow us to keep the cold in. See, summer camping doesn't have to be torturous. You just have to be prepared. And speaking of torturous, it's pretty hot like right now. So I might just turn this AC on, close up all these windows, and sleep right here. Take a nap in my driveway.
Does anybody even see me?